Welcome to Dub Life Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Welcome back to Dub Life Diaries. Now, this episode today is going to be a ton of fun. Most people like cars. Jack Sims, he lives them. While other kids were playing video games, he was learning how machines breathe, how metal moves, how power feels. This isn't just another car guy story today. This is an obsession that turned into a craft that then turned into a reputation, and then a reputation that's turned into a legacy in the making. From busted knuckles to builds that stop people dead in their tracks, Jack Sims represents a generation that didn't wait for permission. You guys know what I'm talking about. We learned, we built, and we showed up. Now, the car world is paying attention. Today, we are talking about the journey, the grind that nobody sees, and what it really takes to turn passion into something that can't be ignored. This is the story behind iJack Sims. The mindset, the movement. This is Dub Life Diaries, and this episode starts right now. What's up, my brother?
What's going on? Thank you. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, man. I want to start this whole thing off by just saying thank you so much for your service to our country. I don't take it lightly. I appreciate my freedom, so thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It was my honor.
You are very welcome. Also, shout out real quick to a few sponsors, and then I got a couple things I want to say about the hat that's on my head, etc. Volksmania magazine, you guys know how I feel. I feel they're the flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. Shout out to those guys. It's not just the quality of the pages, the card stock, just the beauty behind this magazine. It's the people, just like it's the people in this community. It's the people. It's Paul Cave and the team that keep everything flowing there, and it's just an amazing experience as a magazine. www.volksmania.com. You can use DubLife10 at checkout for 10% off of your subscription. That is only U.S. subscribers. Isn't that cool that I've got to say that? Because people all over the world are trying to use that discount code. Yes, yep. That's only U.S. subscribers. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub is tearing up the V-Dub scene. Coastal events, swag, merch, the website's popping. We just did V-Dubs on the pier. The video's out. The drone shots are absolutely nuts. What an epic time that was. My hat. Shout out to these guys. NVT, Rod and Custom. I'll tell you this story. It's on my Facebook. You'll probably see the box open page. But again, Claudia and Justin Still, NVT, Rod and Custom, sent me a box last week. I go out on my porch to leave for work one morning, and there's a box on my porch. I'm like, what's this? I look down. I see the return address. I'm like, oh, it's Justin and Claudia, previous podcast guests. They came on the show last year. I open up the box, 2 shirts, about 25 keychains, and 6 hats. How cool of you guys to send me a swag bag, or a swag box, mind you. So thank you guys so much for the swag. You guys check out NVT Rod and Custom. They're out in Texas. Show those guys some love and some support. Also, on my shirt here, you'll see I got a hoodie from the V-Dub Getaway. Robbie Johnson hosts the V-Dub Getaway. This was last week in the Tampa Bay area. Cool experience for sure, because it's a whole weekend event. Now, it was crazy because we had record low temperatures. In fact, in the high 20s, it made it down to in Florida. For these guys, that were out there grinning and bearing that weather, saw some amazing friends. But when I showed up and I set up my podcast tent, the first thing I noticed was the wind. And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't have any weights for my tent. This thing's going to take sail and it's going to take off. So shout out to my buddy Gary Miller. You guys might know him as the VW Jawbreaker. He gave me a couple stakes to stake my tent to the ground so it wouldn't go anywhere. But it was only 2. So I noticed it kept kept wanting to lift up and try to take off on me. So shout out also to my buddy Chris White from Riverbank Customs, Pell City, Alabama, who provided me with the rest of the stake so I could secure the tent to the ground and make sure it didn't blow into somebody else's, super awesome ride or blow into their investment. But anyway, I'm done shouting out everybody. Back to you, my brother. Back to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
it's my pleasure, man. All right, let's go back to,
Okay.
I guess, the yellow bug, right? This was 1986. This is kind of where
Yeah.
the story started for me with your vast, unbelievably vast journey. But let's start it here. Tell me why you couldn't drive this car.
Okay. So my I was 16 years old, didn't have a driver's license. Uh, my father bought me a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, uh, and he parked it in the apartment complex parking lot. So as I'm going to school and coming home, I see it. I can't drive it, but I have the keys, and I would go in it, sit in it, start it up, but didn't move it because I didn't know how to drive a stick. And like I said, I didn't have a driver's license, and I had a driver's permit, but not a driver's license. So it was kind of heartbreaking because I wanted to drive it, but I didn't have anybody teach me how to drive that was available to teach me how to drive a stick. So that's kind of where I was with that, and it was, and I spent the time looking in VW Trends magazines, Hot VW magazines, and I came up with all of this stuff I wanted to do to the car, but just couldn't do it.
So, do you think that because you couldn't drive it and maybe fantasized about driving it, do you think that that might have made the maybe the passion a little bit stronger for, what could have been?
Absolutely, absolutely, because during that era, there was I was focused on the Mulholland look,
Yeah.
the wide fenders with the running boards, the wide running boards, and I was going for that. And then in my mind, I was like, "Oh, this would look nice with that whale tail, right? With the Mulholland look." So for some reason, that just kept. I had that image in my head of yellow. This is what it's going to look like, and everything. And then just turning those pages and VW Trends and Hot VWs was just was driving that, and to have it, and I can see the potential of what it could be. So that's how that played out.
So you learned how to drive a stick finally, right? I guess
Eventually,
on a different car. This was
yes,
a Super Beetle, right?
yes.
Describe
This
that
was
describe that experience for me.
okay. So my dad had this 1974 Super Beetle that was Fiat green, and he called her Miss Piggy. Um, and I don't know why, because anytime I think of Miss Piggy, I think of pink, and it didn't have anything pink on the car.
Right, right, right.
But just a Super Beetle has that balloon look, I guess. I don't know. But he taught me how to drive stick, and then he worked on weekdays. He would teach me on a hill. I learned how to shift the gears and everything, and he was one of the only ones that allowed me to take the car. So, but he came with some rules. Okay. So one of his rules, or four of his rules, were keep my car clean, keep gas in the car, don't drive with anybody in her, and pick me up on time from work. And to be grateful for allowing me to take the car, I honored those rules so that I can get the car back the next day, or whatever the case may be. But I drove that car everywhere.
And then you finally got your own.
And then I finally got my own, and that this kind of went into when I moved to California and went to high school in Gardena, California. And then my aunt and uncle, they got me a white 72 Volkswagen Beetle, and I drove that car to and from work and school.
Standard.
Standard, yes,
That
standard.
was that was my first car. My first car, or sorry, my first Volkswagen. I was also 16, and it was a 72 standard. It was an auto clutch. So
Oh,
I didn't have the I already knew how to drive a stick, but I didn't have that same experience like you where I had to sit and fantasize, right? I was able to take that thing out and run it everywhere. I mean, I was driving down south, to we used to surf, me and my buddies, and then I would drive to the East Coast, and I remember my buddies used to be like, "Are you crazy, man? You're gonna drive that old piece of junk to, and I'm like, what?" And then these guys would get in it, and we would drive to the East Coast, and it turned into the car that could because it just never quit, man. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so this was '89, right?
This was 89, and this was my senior year in high school,
Okay,
and I was
so
busy.
you started getting into maybe some of the car shows and stuff at that time too, right?
Just after that, because
Oh,
what was crazy was the whole time I was in California, I never went to any Volkswagen shows. I
whoa.
was too busy. Because think about this, I got up, I went to high school, right? Drove to high school. As soon as I would get out of high school, I would be going to Target to work, and I was working at Target, and then like as many hours as I could, I would get off, late shift, go home, study. So that was my routine, and I didn't really know at this time in 1988, 89, I didn't even know anything about Volkswagen shows yet
Okay.
until I got back to the East Coast.
That was the first one was Bug Out, right?
The first one was Bug Out. Yes.
Let's talk about that. Tell me what that felt like for you to experience, because we all know what these shows feel like these days, right?
Yes.
But what did that feel
Yes.
like as a young man to, I don't know, experience that for your first time?
So my first time, and I remember it today. So it was, and at this time I had a 1973 standard Volkswagen Beetle,
Okay.
not custom, just regular Volkswagen Beetle,
Stock,
um,
stock, stock.
stock,
Yes, sir.
right? And my friends who Scott and Dan Kasner, it was just the three of us that would just cruise around in Volkswagens. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to a Volkswagen show," and I'm like, "What? A Volkswagen show?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's just all Volkswagens." So I saved up my I saved up my money, and I just I kind of was skeptical at first, but then they're like, "Oh, it's in Virginia, and it's going to take a few hours to get there." And then really, I was almost reserved of not going, but because we all kind of cruised together around town and everything, and I said, "All right, let's do it." And we drove I-95 from Westchester, Pennsylvania, all the way to Manassas, Virginia. During the trip, we stopped at a rest stop called Maryland House Travels Plaza. It's like a rest stop on the I-95. When we pulled up in there, there was a lot of other Volkswagens just sitting there waiting. And then other Volkswagens were coming from up north, like New York, Connecticut, and everything. And then it turned into a caravan. Did not notice, right? So then we're driving, we take off at Maryland House Rest Stop and continue to drive down I-95. And now instead of about 4 or 5 of us, it's like 30 of us. And then, just talking about it, the hairs on my arm is sticking up because
So
to
cool.
have that feel, it's so cool to drive down I-95, a highway with a caravan of just all kind of Volkswagens.
Heck
we get
yes.
to we get to Bug Out, or this is the night before. So we get to the rest area, which is Econo Lodge, and you pull up in there. You're seeing vendors, show cars that you would normally see in magazines. Now I'm actually seeing custom Volkswagen cars, right? And we're just driving parking lots at these hotels. And then to me, this was a show by itself. And at that time, this was my first bug out. We uh we didn't have enough room for a hotel. So we slept in the parking lot. We created a wagon wheel with our Volkswagens, and it was warm enough, and we just slept in the parking lot. And we woke and we stayed up and we walked at that evening we walked all the hotels and everything, looking at cars. If you needed parts, you can get parts. And then when we slept, we didn't even need an alarm because soon as it was time to get ready for the show the next day, you start hearing the cars fire up with the stingers. So it was big back then in the 80s,
Yeah,
90s was riding around with stingers, and you would
I
hear them
remember.
fire up,
Yeah.
and then that would wake you up enough, and then we would head to bug out, and then there's more cars, and then all of a sudden we pull up, and there's like vendors and racing. That was I never knew that Aircooled Volkswagens had their own race venue, and at bug out it was racing at Old Dominion Speedway.
So this moment in time, it probably really started to take shape for you that you noticed or realized that the Volkswagen community was bigger than just your neighborhood or your town, right?
Absolutely.
You started to maybe work on them too, right? In this timeline, you're a young man, you're starting to become mechanical. You had mentioned in your backstory about one of your neighborhood guys that was, pretty much the neighborhood mechanic that had helped you, start learning how to take things apart and rebuild them, right?
Yes. So we had a few
Okay.
auto effects, Jim Burns, Tom's VW service, and also Dan Corbo, which was the maker of Honey I Shrunk the Bus. But there was this one guy. He didn't per se had a VW shop. He had a trucking company, and my dad connected me with him, and I asked him if he can help me build the engine, and he's like, yes. Yeah, I'll help you build the engine. Now, keep in mind, he didn't have any Volkswagen stuff. He still had some Volkswagen tools and used to be a Volkswagen mechanic, like
Ah,
back in the day. So, and I was kind of skeptical. I was like, okay. He was like, but you got to buy your own parts and use your own tools.
yes, I remember seeing that. I thought that was interesting. What a cool thing to do, right? To have, I think all of us that aren't the best or the most talented or gifted mechanically would almost wish that somebody would stand over our shoulder and watch us do the work so we could do it ourselves and learn. I
Yes.
say that selfishly because that's me. I'm not the best mechanic. I usually pay people to do the type of work that I want done because I just, man, I got a bad back and I can come up with all the excuses under the sun. I don't have time, etc. But the truth is, I'm really just not that mechanical, and it's okay. I still have the same passion for these cars as other people that are completely gifted and talented and mechanical. But I guess the point is, I'm glad that you got that experience to make or to have somebody stand over you, and make you do all the work yourself.
Yes. And he was hardcore. Let's put it that way. He was old school, hardcore, do what I say and listen to me. And I had to learn some life lessons at the age of 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's touch on
you
some of the mistakes. Let's touch on some of the lessons. What'd you learn? What mistake did you make building that first motor?
so like you said, you know, provide your own parts and tools. So I bought the parts, but he helped me to make sure that I purchased the right parts so I didn't waste my money. So I was thankful for that. When it came to the tools, he told me get some good tools, and I was just like I didn't know what that meant. I thought a wrench is a wrench, So I went to Pep Boys and grabbed some wrenches and sockets and everything, And then as I'm working on it, there was this one time where I had to, torque something, and I went to tighten it, and it broke and busted my knuckles, just like you said in the intro.
That's
And
right.
then he,
I saw that
and
in the
then he,
story.
and then he turned around and he was like, "Where'd you get them tools from?" And I was like, "Pep Boys." And he was like, "I was like, it's a auto place. You get tools from an auto place." He was like, "That's not good tools." He said, so he was like, "Now go in my thing and grab the 13 millimeter and everything and bring it over here." And he was like, "And I look at that tool," and I was like, "It's snap on." It was snap on because he had a truck that would ride by and he would get his tools and everything at the time. Then I was like, "Man, I can't afford, you know,
Right.
I can't afford." I was like, "This wrench," I was like, "I can get a whole box." And then he taught me, it was like, "Yeah," he was like, "This is why your knuckles are bleeding right now, because you didn't listen when I told you to get the good tool." And he was like, "You don't need to get Snapple." He was like, "Go down to Sears," right? And this is what I learned about Sears, right? He said, "Go to Sears. Sears has good tools that you can afford." And the cool thing about Sears is they had a program that if something broke, you can take the broken tool back and they will replace it for free.
Craftsman.
Craftsman, Sears.
Yes. Yeah,
And I
buddy.
said, "Okay." And he said, "Now take these tools, get them out of here. I don't want to see them again. We'll get you some good tools and then come back here the next day and we'll start working on this motor."
Okay. Okay. Cool story. And we even had to talk about Sears. I'll tell you why that resonated with me. My first Beetle that I got in 1996, the 72 Standard, was on the perimeter of the Tyrone Square Mall parking lot here in Pinellas County, St. Pete,
Okay.
at a Sears Automotive Center. So, when you said that, I went right back to, those times. I actually changed oil to Jiffy Lube back in the day when I was just a young teenager. One of my first jobs that I got as a courtesy technician, vacuuming cars, and then, worked my way to a hood technician and all that fun stuff. But it was at a Sears Automotive Center where Jiffy Lube had rented a little space out of there. So yeah,
Okay.
man, cool. And I have the same experience. I had all the Craftsman, elite Craftsman professional tools for the same reason. You did anything, damage anything, mess anything up, they just replace them on the spot. How
Absolutely.
cool? Yeah, how cool was that? Fast forward a little bit, I got into marine mechanics and I ended up going to school for marine mechanics, which was fun in itself. But when I got hired at the first boat yard that I worked at, just rigging, just hanging outboard motors and etc. The Snap-on
Okay.
truck used to come, and
Yes.
the Snap-on truck got me for probably 200-300 bucks a week, man. It wasn't long before I was in debt to the Snap, but I had a beautiful tool collection. And I still do. I still do. I got a lot of tools, a lot of Snap-on tools that I still kept over the years. They don't get as much use as they should. But again, I just don't wrench that much. Okay, so in this timeline, you had talked about the purple people eater, and it's a 73. Is this the same 73 standard that we're talking about that you had gotten, or was this a different
Yes.
one? Yes, okay.
Yes.
You end up chopping the top on this 73. Let's start there.
Yes.
Where'd the motivation come from to chop the top?
The magazines.
Okay, okay. And then where did Purple People Eater come from as a name?
So I I I so I didn't know what to call it, right? So I was just like, "Man, this is purple thing," but thing is another type of Volkswagen. So I was
Right.
just like, I need a name. And I'm like, but it's bright. It was like a bright purple, and the color was actually pinstripe color that we bought enough of it to actually paint the whole car. It was a PPG, yeah. So it was the only, like, no one had that color. And so when the shop Auto Effects painted it, and I started out with that 1600cc motor,
Hmm.
the name didn't come till later, because then I having a chop top with a 1600cc motor, I felt like it needed some more power,
Okay.
right? So now here's where the the want more comes in. As my income increases, I want more for my Volkswagen, right?
Like all of us.
Yes.
Uh,
So I went and I purchased a 1915cc long block, and then we put that in there and uh, did some other rework and everything, and then driving it, it just had some power, and I was just like, when you go from a 1600 to a 1915, you think you're on top of the world. Just that slight little, increase in power
it's
is
a lot.
crazy.
Yeah, it's a
So
lot for these
then,
little cars.
yes, and then I was like, man, this is like this car could, do some things, right? So then that's how it just came up, the purple people eater, because it was just fast.
Because
And
you be eating up other people.
yes, yes,
Okay. So is this what started to give you the motivation to maybe get into to drag racing?
kind of sort of. So, but before the racing came, I was going to car shows
Okay.
and I was winning trophies because I was one of the only ones when this kind of chop top started to come into the scene. And my chop top was different because everyone would do the complete chop. And then the chop top that was designed for my car was the wedge chop, where the pillars were angled forward. So it had a little bit of different look to it. Loved the car, was going to shows, getting trophies and everything. And then Dan Corbo was the one that kind of pushed me because I started going to the shows and we started going with him to the shows. And then the show cars would be on one side of the track, and then your drag racing are in the pit area on the other side of the track. And then we would never even see each other. So then he was like, well, you got this 1915cc motor. Why don't you, see what it can do on the track? Now, I spent all that money to get it custom. I'm not trying to wreck this thing, and I ain't never raced before. And he was like, "Oh, I'll help you, and teach you the way." So he kind of, helped me out. So at one point, it was going to Englishtown. We were going to Englishtown Raceway, which is basically a show and drag racing. And I'm like, I don't own a truck. I don't own a trailer. And he was like, "Oh, you can use my shop truck and trailer." So, and then he was like, "But you're gonna have to change tires," right? So it was like, bring it by the shop, I'll tune you up and I'll change out the wheels. And then you can use my truck and trailer. And me and my wife, we got together and we followed him to Englishtown Raceway. And instead of going to the show side of the track, we're on the pit side of the track, hanging out with Dan Corbo and Honey, I Shrunk the Bus. So, and keep in mind that Dan Corbo, his wife races too. So she raced Sandrail. So
Cool.
yes. So I got out on the track and started racing. And then my wife was my number one supporter. And what was crazy was as I'm racing, I'm so focused on when to take off, when to shift gears, everything that he taught me. And I don't even know if I won, right? Because when you're wearing a helmet, you can't see the other car, and I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. I'm not looking to
That's
see.
right.
I'm listening to the motor and shifting. And then on the return lane, my wife is jumping up and down. She was like, "You won! You won! Get back in line! Get back in line!" And I'm like, "What? Oh, okay." And then that just kept happening. And
Kept
then
winning.
say again.
Kept winning.
I kept winning. I
Cool.
kept winning. Yes. And then at one time I went up against Dan Corbo's wife, right? And that's the picture that I sent you. I went up against her and I beat her.
Yo.
Yeah. So the cool and what's great about this story is I won the entire race for my class, um, and I've never raced since then. So technically, I'm undefeated.
Hey, he's why didn't you want to maybe go back?
There were some. I, I'm more into the show side, right?
Okay.
And I just wanted to see what the car would do.
Okay. That's
So
fair.
I got the slips and everything. So now when I go to the show, I can show the slips also. That not only do I show with this car, I actually know what this motor can do as far
Yeah.
as racing.
Yeah.
So and I showed the times and everything in on the show area.
In your story, you had talked about how you had multiple firsts all in all in a day. Let's talk about that. Bring me up to speed. How did that happen?
So I got the car chop topped, right? It hasn't went to a show, right? I'm dating uh my wife, right? And our first date was bug out,
VW
right?
show. This was
VW show,
a match made in
yeah,
heaven.
match made in heaven, right? So this is my first time taking the purple chop top to a show, which was at bug out. So, and then we're cruising together, and the team at AutoFX, they came because they wanted to show off what they did to help bring them some business. And we, me and my wife, we drive the the bug as a chop top for the first time that entire distance with that 1915cc motor in it. And we just had a blast. Um, and yeah, so that was there was a lot of first there. First date with the wife at bug out, first time showing the car as a show car. So that was my first actually showing my Volkswagen, because all the other times I went, I was parked in the parking lot.
And did you get press? Didn't you get press for the was the car in the newspaper at that time?
Yes. So Daily Local News had a section, and what was crazy is I worked at Daily Local News. Uh, so Daily Local News had a section called Lifestyle section, and they put my put our my car up on this on in the front part of that section, and this was actually my father is actually in the picture too, and uh, my stepmom and my wife is in that picture as
Awesome.
well. So
Yeah.
it was just it was a gathering, and that picture actually depicts Volkswagen Ego, which was my first club that I found myself and a guy named Melvin Sharp. We founded, and I became the president, and we just ran with VW Ego, which stands for Everybody's Got One.
Ooh, I like that. That's unique.
Yes.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit then to 94.
Ooh.
Ooh, I know this was this was tough, right? To step away, but let's talk about this. What happened in 94?
Okay. So 94, life happens. So I joined the Navy. And during the time that I was in training for the Navy, um, still had the purple people eater. I wanted to change out my engine from a 1915 back to a stock 1600. I
Okay.
got I got tired of the tweaking carbs every time the weather changed and everything. I just wanted to drive. At this point, I was like, I enjoyed the show scene. Now I'm still want to do the show, but I just want to drive. I just want to drive without tuning carbs. So I went to a shop, and the deal was uh, they can have the 1915cc motor. I just need them to build me a 1600 stock motor. Plus, I gave them $700. So they get the 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 build up motor, and I just want a stock motor built. During that time frame, the Navy called, and I had to rush to my ship out in Cartagena, Spain. So and it was up in the middle of the night. Got to go, plane ticket, take off. right?
Whoa.
So during this time, you know, my wife and my dad was contacting the shop, and they took advantage of that, uh, me not being around, and they basically said that they put a lien on the car, and because they couldn't get in touch with me when my
Oh,
wife, yeah. So yeah, that was heartbreaking. And you know, being young age, I didn't know laws and all this stuff. So, you know, I just trusted what they said, you know. So I basically lost the car. Come to
dang.
find out that when I contacted Harrisburg DMV, that it was not transferred. It was still in my name, and no one
All you
put
gotta
a
do is
lien on it.
report it stolen.
So that's what I did. I
Yeah.
reported it stolen, and then, but the car was gone. You know, matter of fact, I know they repainted it like a burnt orange color, like a metallic orange, and then I saw it one time in the behind the shop, and then after that day, I never saw it again.
Dang, man.
Yes,
What a story.
yes,
So you're in you're in the Navy now. You step
yes,
away, you step away from the VW world for a little while, right?
I did. That hurt.
I bet. I bet. I did too. Having kids, starting my life, starting a career, all that stuff. I hate to even admit this, but you probably relate to it. I didn't really have time for hobbies. It was like I had my
Yes,
youth, I had my childhood, I had my early 20s, but when life started to happen for me and I started to, have other people in my world, like my kids, it was
yes,
almost like you had your chance. Now it's not about you anymore. Now it's about them. So I,
yes.
I stepped away for a long time too. Your break lasted what, 10 years?
10 years.
Mine was
Yep.
probably close to double that. So
Wow.
yeah, so I get it, man. I understand. But let's touch on this. How hard was it to step away?
It was hard because
It was your whole
I
world. You were
it was
racing and
it
showing
yeah.
and yeah.
And I had a binder with all my pictures, with my race receipts and everything. And even while I was in the Navy and I was on a ship, I had that binder with me on the ship. And one of the hardest things was to talk about and show pictures of your car and not have it,
Mm,
you
yeah.
know. So
Dang,
it
man.
was just, you
It
know,
was
and
like
then
beyond the feeling is like beyond the one that got away because
exactly,
it was circumstantial, you know what I mean? So, yeah, dang.
exactly.
The Navy though. Young man, giving up your hobbies, shaping your life, your career. How did the Navy, essentially shape you as a young man? Let's talk on that.
Well, okay. The Navy has structure. So, and keep in mind, I came in the Navy at the age of 24. I didn't join at 18. So, and I'm coming into the Navy at the bottom level uh, at already, you know, mid 24 with a family, right? So, um, you know, and the Navy provides structure in your life that, you know, do as I say, not as I do, you know, all this kind of stuff. So you follow guidance, you follow rules and everything, because at the end of the day, the military is about, you know, protecting, serving, and war. So, and then I grew up instilling that part of my life has become part of my life as I got older.
Being in the service, still having this passion for Volkswagens, like you said, showing pictures and really not being able to, have the car essentially. Do you think that feeling over time, over that, decade, over that 10-year period, do you think that it made the love for Volkswagens kind of grow stronger? Because it's almost like you're talking about the one thing you can't have right now. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it did. Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
So
So you got back into it though after
yes, I
10
did.
years. So
Yes,
let's
I
fast
did.
forward a little bit. What was it like getting back into the scene after taking 10 years away?
it was it was good. Now keep in mind, fast forward 10 years, kids are a little bit older, right? So now I got teenagers, right? And my wife, we she pushes the Volkswagen thing. She's a pusher because she loves it just as much as I do.
That's awesome.
Um, and I just happened to see this one 67 Volkswagen Beetle in Florida. Now, this was the time we lived in Mayport, Florida. And I had the money. And I was just like, I'm going to get this thing. Right. I was like, the price was right. I was like, but all I have to do is look at it. And somebody else, the previous owner to this white 67 Beetle, when I met him, he was just starting his life. So he had a wife, brand new kid, and about to buy a house and couldn't afford having the Volkswagen as a hobby. It was garage kept. He was like, I'm not doing anything with it. It needs to go to somebody who's going to do something with this. So me and him talked, and I can tell he didn't want to let it go
Oh, what a
because even though I paid him and we're signing the paperwork, he's still trying to talk to me, and I'm ready to take off in this thing,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, it's take care of it, and everything. He's like, okay, and I'm like, okay, I got it, I know.
Yeah. She's in good
So
hands. She's in good hands. I'm
she's in
out of
good
here.
hands.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got it, trust me.
So
And
getting
I
back into the
trusted it.
scene, tell me what'd you recognize? What changed? Maybe what didn't change? 10 years is a long time. Technology, all kinds of stuff changes. The scene's evolving. Certainly it's evolved now today, probably way past what both of us have probably ever expected it to do. But back then, what did you immediately recognize about the scene? What changed?
That it's it hasn't stopped, right? Because during the time I was in the Navy, I didn't go to any shows. I didn't know that this thing was worldwide, right?
Right.
So even during the Navy, when I went to Mexico, right, uh, on a port visit, I'm seeing Volkswagens everywhere, and the Mexican Beetle, they were using it as taxi cabs and everything. And when you can even in Cozumel, Mexico, you can rent Volkswagens, sand rails, and just drive them around. It was just crazy. I was like, man, so it's just kind of so now I'm like realizing that this is a little bit more than just shows, right? This is family. So I moved from Florida to Maryland, and I link up with a club called Strictly VWs, and it just grew from there. So now I'm older with my own car, with a little bit more maturity, a little bit more money, and I'm linking up with a Volkswagen club who is already established, and we're doing big things, right? And then with a little bit of my motivation and drive, I'm pushing the club even further than even they knew. And this is during the time when the Samba was actually my MySpace. Not even Facebook was in existence. This was
Oh,
MySpace
I remember
and
MySpace.
the Samba. So we were promoting and advertising. We were like, okay, the Samba has a section where there's shows. So I'm finding all the shows and pushing the club to go to these shows because back in the day, in the early '90s, you didn't have internet. You knew about shows by flyers or word of mouth.
Flyers, big in the 80s and 90s, because you're right.
Yes,
Internet was not something. But you touched on family a second ago, and now I want to touch on your family. Now,
yes,
you and your wife, you guys met in elementary school, right?
yes.
How cool, right? It's like a basketball diary story, because you guys are literally elementary school kind of sweethearts, and then You obviously have it evolved into a life together. At what point in your life, in your relationship, did you guys realize for each other that, hey, this is the one?
That was it was just we just connected right away, right? We went, like I said, we went to bug out.
You guys are the
You
same
know,
age. Clearly you're in school
we are
together. Or were you
we
in
are this.
different grades?
No, we're in the
Okay.
same grade. And
Yeah,
here's
yeah,
what's
yeah.
crazy.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
only did we go to the same elementary school in a town called Coatesville, Pennsylvania, we moved to Westchester and we went to the same middle school. And she lived across the street from me.
Come on, man.
Yes, where
There
you can't make this up.
there are things in life that are meant to be, and
Yeah,
there's one of them.
that's one of them. And then we next you know we go to bug out together, and next you know we're just in the Volkswagens. Like we are just in the Volkswagens. And
So
everybody and every time you saw me, you saw her.
so she clearly knows her stuff. When does she start working on her own cars?
Okay, so this is when this is going to be a crazy story, right? Because all these years she was riding with me as a co-pilot,
Okay.
right? In the Volkswagen. Now she would drive the Volkswagen, my Volkswagens and everything, but it was just she never had her own. So back in 2022, I bought her that blue bug that you see. And I didn't realize the potential she even had. And then I done created she just blew up from there because now she had her own Volkswagen Beetle that she can do whatever she wanted to do, right? So anytime we went out to work on the car, I was like, wait a second, this is your car. Aren't you gonna work on it or anything like that? She was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, real. So then I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. And then she would change her clothes. And next you know, she's under the car turning the wrench, and she changed out her own exhaust. She changed her shifter because she wanted the mama shifter. And I was like, oh, you're gonna do it? She was like, yeah, just give me the tools, show me what I need to do, and I'll do it. And I was like, wow, okay. And I'm now keep in mind, this is exciting to me, right?
Sure.
So I give her the tools and she does it and then everything. And then there was this one part, and I actually have a video for this. She says her clutch cable breaks, right? And she was like, something's wrong with my clutch. And I go up underneath and you can tell that the splines from the cable are frayed and coming out. And I'm like, you need a new clutch cable. And I go to order it, it comes in, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna replace your own clutch cable, right? She was like, yeah, yeah. So I'm like, okay. I said, this is a little bit different, because you got to get all up under the seat and everything and get to the pedal. So and she did it. And she did her own clutch cable. She fed it through the tube and everything. Her hands was all greasy and everything. And I'm like, that's my wife right there. That's my
Yeah.
wife right there.
So there may be some listening to this episode that don't know your wife, that don't know her name, that don't know her accolades or accomplishments. Let's tell them who she is.
Okay. So my wife is VolkyChica, right? And she has her own Facebook page,
with
right?
six with 66,000 followers, y'all.
Yes, yes. And we're talking and worldwide,
Oh,
right?
clearly,
Clearly
yes.
worldwide.
Yeah.
Yes. And I got a story with that too. Now I started all events and show before she started VolkyChica. And one day we were at a Volkswagen show the night before. We're at a hotel parking lot, and across the parking lot at the hotel, somebody yells out VolkyChica. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, she was like, who is that? I was like, I don't know. They're calling you. Right. So, and then I was like, man, and that's when I realized I was like, man, you famous. You're famous. People calling you that you don't know, and they came over and they're like, oh man, I want to let me take a picture with you,
I
and
love it. I love it.
and and then it just took off from there, and VolkyChica became VolkyChica.
And yeah, and what an awesome thing. Now, people see you guys, they see the page. If they're new to the community, they might not know. What do they say when they find out she actually really knows her stuff?
Their jaw drops. So
I
we we
bet.
go we, we go to shows, and people used to automatically assume that her car was my car. And then the people that knew that that car is her car, they would ask me questions about her car. So
That's the
even though I
stigma
knew,
of right
that's the
of
stigma. Yeah, ask the
the
guy.
men and women
Yeah.
in and around automotive. Yeah, yeah,
So I would I would purposely tell them, I don't know. It's not my car. Ask
yeah.
her. Ask her.
Right.
So
It's like
then I would,
empowerment at the same time. It's also kind of annoying because you're like, it's hers, man. Ask her, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So then I would fade back. They would go ask her about her car. And then when she starts explaining about what then they would automatically assume that I'm working on her car. And she goes, no, I work on my own car. And then she goes, the exhaust, I replaced the exhaust. And then she starts talking about all the mechanics and everything that she did. They're looking at her like, and then they look at me and I'm like,
Now,
yeah,
so is it true now that you're more or less her assistant when you guys go to the shows?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
So I
So
sit
cool.
back, I and I enjoy it. I
I
enjoy it
bet,
to
man. I
be
bet I
a
would too.
supporter because I just see where everyone just basically there's times where she had a line of people
So
wanting to talk to
cool.
her.
So,
Yes,
I've had Annie VW. You've probably seen her, wrenching. She's got a ton of followers as well. Interesting conversation to have, with her because same thing. Her whole vibe was kind of, hey, when females are in this and they want to work on their own cars and stuff, like you need to let them. Like quit trying to take the tools out of their hands, etc.
yes,
And
yes.
what a gem she is to the VW community. And obviously, has a massive following online now as well. I think there's something special about that, but I want to hear that from you. What makes VolkyChica so special to the VW world?
She is. Keep in mind that she's a Navy wife. We're a family of 5 children. We have 11 grandkids.
Oh,
Right? Yes.
awesome.
And she is Voki Chica, and she works on her own car. I mean, this is just you get the full package, right? Most couples either their spouse is into it or they're not into it,
Right.
right? At all. So
I
and
totally
then
get that.
the spouses that are kind of into it, they're not into it like Voki Chica's into it because she even pushes me to
You said she's a pusher.
she pushes me to work on my own car and to get the parts. And then to her, because keep in mind we're empty nesters, so all our kids are grown and moved out and they got their own families, so it's just me and her and those 3 Volkswagens. She calls them babies. They're her babies. So when we pass the garage, she'll talk to them. She'll be like, all
Oh.
right, baby, it's gonna get warm and we're gonna take you out to the show. And then she'll look at my car and be like, I'm sorry, baby, he needs to put you back together. So it's a love. It's a love and it's family.
You guys have been coast to coast. You mentioned a second ago that you started all events and shows. We'll touch on that here in just a second. But being, going coast to coast, having, seeing the culture, if you will, across the nation, even across the world. Let's just talk about the U.S. for a second. Do you think that there's a difference between East and West Coast?
There is. There's
Okay.
a difference not only between East and West Coast, but your Midwest and Mid South. The vibes are different. So I just recently posted on my page uh, an accurate map of the regions and the subregions, breaking them down. And then when I look at the map, I realize that there's some clear distinction between the vibes
Yeah.
between East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah.
So
So
yes,
Big
absolutely.
Biggie and Tupac were onto something.
Yes.
So where is the West Coast the wildest shows?
I would say uh, they all have their different vibe. They have the wildest shows because, uh, especially like El Prado, right? So there's no comparison. El Prado is just huge. SoCal Week is just huge. You got the West Coast has all of the mainstream vendors and
Yeah,
everything over there, and they're not impacted by weather, right?
that's big.
So that's big.
That's
So
big.
it's all your big stuff is over there, and honestly, I don't even know why they call it SoCal Week. They need to call it SoCal Month because that entire month of June for 3 weeks they go non-stop hard. Between the Empty open house, and there's a bus show. There's a DKP has cruising.
Yeah.
You got El Prado, you got camping, you got all this stuff happening all around the same time, and we don't have anything to that level here on the East Coast, and I haven't seen anything to that level in the Midwest or the Mid South.
So let's touch on all events and shows. You started all events and shows. Where was the motivation behind this? What made you want to start, something like this that is a kind of a go-to for finding, all the events all over the country?
It was 2020, and I was sitting there, I was like, man, where, you know, I got my blog. I'm in the Midwest, and where all the Volkswagen shows at, and then the Samba just kind of turned into a classifieds page.
Right.
So some of the data kind of got old. And then I'm like, okay, where are we at? So then, I'm like, okay, everybody's on Facebook. Okay. So, but you know how hard it is to try to find a show when thousands of clubs and coordinators have Facebook pages, some have Facebook group,
Yeah. Yep.
some are private, some are public. The
Yep.
ones that are private, you can't see anything until you join it, and then I'm spinning wheels trying to figure. I'm like, man, there just needs to be one place where you can just get to all the Volkswagen shows. And then it just dawned on me. It's like, well, if everybody's on Facebook, why not just have one place where you can find all events and shows, right? So I created, but I did a little bit of research to see if somebody else out there was doing it, and then nobody out there was doing it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let me start it, and that's how it got birthed. And I spent, and keep in mind, I'm still in the military. I'm spending hours a day digging into other club event pages and other events and private and joining. So I have joined hundreds of private club pages and event pages in order to pull out the shows and all the events, and then to put it into all events and shows web page group.
Now, did you expect it to get the traction that it would?
I did not. I did not. I actually did it for selfish purposes at first.
Right.
right? For me to see where everything's at. And I used it to consolidate the information. I'm able to extract it. Now I'm a little bit of a computer nerd. This is the nerd part is going to come out, right? So I extracted from Facebook, uploaded into a CSV file, and then converted that over into an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So my wife and I were sitting there. She was like, "Well, what shows we're going to?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" For me to sit there and go through all of it, I was like, "I need some way to see all the shows and where they're located and what times there are, so I can figure out whether we're going to head south, east, west, or wherever, and hit these shows." So I use Microsoft Excel as my tool to sort all the shows and see where they're at, so that we can take off for like a month, and then every weekend we'll just hit another show, and every weekend we're at a show. So
So
that's
cool.
how I did it. And I was like, man, this is actually pretty cool. And that's how we end up. And I actually we took off. I took 20 or 30 days off work from the Navy, and we just went around and just was hitting Volkswagen shows up north, down into Ohio, and then we obviously recapped with one of our original shows, which was Bug Out, and that's where we met. We met and sponsored D-Note.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Cool story. He told that story when he came on. What an
Yes,
interesting guy. Great story, great background. The whole West Coast scene, the vibe there. I felt that super strong. Having him on made me feel awesome to relive. Man, I'm a
yes,
90s. I'm a 90s. I'm born in 77. So
yes,
80s was young. 90s was my youth. Uh, Boys in the Hood,
yes,
straight out of Compton, all that, man. That's my whole youth. So, and then the whole
yes.
the whole Kobe vibe and everything too, man. It was what an awesome guy. And then let's be real, the songs, the music.
This,
It's so awesome, man. He's talented. He's super good. And the music is awesome. I love the lyrics and it's just so relatable. And man, yeah, man, what a joy.
so do you know that his last song and video, Wags Come Out, I'm actually in it.
Are you? No, I
Yeah.
didn't know. That's
And
cool
I'm at like 3 minutes and 3 seconds,
though.
right? And I'm actually in it,
I'm gonna check it
and he's
out.
got he's got lyrics for me in it, and he goes, iJack Sims rep folks on the East Coast.
Yeah, cool,
And
cool.
I'm in the video, and my wife's in the video too.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome. That's super awesome. Let's fast forward a little bit now. Take me to the Dubs on the Lake story.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One of our stops during our big trip that my wife and I took was Dubs on the Lake. Um, Now, leading up to there, I was promoting. I was pushing, promoting for all the shows and pushing, promoting. We get to Dubs at the Lake, and the event coordinator was only expecting about 100 to 175 cars. We're already parked there early, right? And cars just kept coming, right? And then I can see him. I'm trying to meet him and have a conversation with the event coordinator, and he's just so overwhelmed because he wasn't expecting the amount of cars to show up that actually showed up, and it was like over 300. I think
Wow.
the final count for registration was 317,
Dang,
and they just kept coming.
that's
So
special.
during the show, keep in mind you gotta manage parking spaces too for all these cars that are coming,
That's right.
and he was able to do it. He tightened it up and was able to do it. So once while the cars were getting out there parking and everything, my wife is one of my one of my number one supporters, because anytime she talks to anybody, even though she's VolkyChica and people want to see her, she always mentions all VW events and shows, right? So when she walks around, I had business cards that had the logo on it, and she was going around just talking to people and saying, "Hey, have you, if you want to know where all the shows are, here's my husband has a Facebook page called All Events and Shows." And then what we found out that there was a lot of people, that's how they knew about that show,
Very
was
cool.
through my webpage, right?
So direct impact that
Direct impact.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So then they're like, "Oh, I'm already on it. I'm already on here." And then the ones that weren't on there, they would immediately send me a invite, and then I would approve their invite on the spot. So keep in mind, out of all my members that are on there, and every event that is posted on there, I approve it. I'm the one. I don't just automatically let it go, because I gotta manage the bots, the computer bots out there. So I actually manually hit approve for each one of my over 7,000 members.
Wow. Cool.
Yes.
Super cool. Now you have seen a lot over time now in your travels. You had
Yes,
mentioned
sir.
something in the timeline about visiting Mofoco. Let's talk about that.
So during the time living up in Great Lakes, Mofoco is in Milwaukee, and it's not that far away. How cool would it be from a shop that was from the 70s that we saw in the magazines
Right?
to actually go to the shop, right? So that's what we did. We drove up there, and it they haven't moved. They've been in the same location since the 70s, right?
So cool.
And the dad that owned it has basically released the shop to the sons. So the sons of the founder and owner to Mofoco runs the shop. So while I was up there, I was wanting, you know, had some money. If you got money, you got to spend it on Volkswagen, right?
That's right.
So I was like,
Until
how
there
cool
ain't none left.
until there ain't none left. But then you figure it out. You go get some more, and then
That's
you just
right.
keep dumping it in your Volkswagen, right?
That's right.
So I was like, how cool would it be to get not only a motor, a transmission from Mofoco, right? So it's historic, and the kids who grew up under their father's leadership build it for me, right? So that's what I did. I had them build a freeway flyer to marry up with my 2276 long block that I had them build. Now, keep in mind, I didn't want 2276. I only wanted a 2110. I just wanted a 2110,
That's a
but
monster.
it is. But what happened was I was like, man, I don't want a 2276. I just want a 2110 cc motor, strong motor. And he was like, well, somebody backed out of a deal.
Oh,
And he's like, look, I already got a long block that somebody backed out of. And then he sent me the specs, and I told him, I was like, man, I don't want the 1:4 ratio rockers. I just want a driver. I'm not trying to race. I'm older now. Those days are gone. I just
right.
want a driver. So he was like, well, I'll put whatever cam you want in it and everything, and rockers or whatever. So he kind of toned it down. So I got 125 rockers, and I got a nice mild cam to build a drivable 2276 motor.
What's it feel like? I've been in some of the 22 ish cars. Some of them built nasty high octane fuel, and they're actually kind of scary in a
Yeah.
in a Beetle. They're fast. How's yours feel?
Didn't even drive it yet. so so it got burned in, tested, and everything. I got the motor. Now this is going to be a crazy story because it's going to lead back to bug out.
Okay.
So I got the motor, and we're in Great Lakes, and my wife was like, you need to finish this car because bug outs coming up and I don't want to go to these shows and now and she's even excited because she got her own car and we're just like we're going to be husband and wife with our own cars showing up at shows. So she's even more excited and she's more pushing. So I'm like, oh, I got to get this 2276 in here. So I had to take out the 1915 and I moved the engine tin over and everything, and I put the 2276 motor in. I got it fired up, and we're like probably a week to 2 weeks away from doing our 20 to 30-day Volkswagen tour, and something wasn't right. I think the flywheel was scraping the inside of the transmission, right? And I needed to, hone it out a little bit. Something just wasn't right. And I was like, and I remember that evening. This is how crazy this is. And I'm sitting there and she was like, so what's going on? And I was like, I'm not going to take my bug, the red one that you see up there. I was like, I'm not going to take my bug. We'll just take your bug and we'll still go to shows, but we'll take your bug and I'll just support you. And she goes, no, you're taking your bug. She was like, I don't want to go by myself. I'm like, I'm going with you. We're just gonna, debut your bug. She said, no. Then she says, what do we have to do to get this car ready? And I'm like, what do we mean by we? And she goes, yes. I was like, oh, you gonna be down here working on my motor with me? She was like,
wow.
Yeah. She said,
cool.
Yeah. And I said, okay, what I have to do, I have to take this 2276 back out. And I said, the fastest way for me to do this without trying to make this work with the 2276 is to move everything back over and put the 1915 back in it. And she goes, okay, I'll be back. She goes and changes and comes back and she was like, all right, so what we doing? Let's get it. Yeah. And I'm
Let's
like,
go.
oh, we're really going to do this, right? And we were on a timeline. Within 24 to 48 hours, I had that motor out, apart, put the 1915 back in, put it in, fired it up, and we loaded up in the trailer. And the following week, we were gone.
Super cool.
That's what kind of wife I got.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Now, this is another.
I was giving up.
This will lead to even more coolness right here, and I'm sure some of our listeners will relate to this. But you had also mentioned that throughout some of your time, you told a story about how you brought car parts, even a transmission, into your house to work on them, and you had said that my wife let me bring. I thought I kind of laughed at that, but explain that to me. What was that like? I guess working on a transmission inside the house, and I think you even mentioned rebuilding carburetors on your kitchen island.
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna preface it with this. My wife is germaphobe OCD.
Okay.
Right? So she is very clean. She don't like dirt. She don't like smelling, fuel, oil, all that stuff.
That gives even more to when you say that she goes and gets changed and she gets dirty, right? That's like it shows even more passion.
Yes. So it first started with the transmission, right? And I said, look, now keep in mind we on the East Coast, so it gets cold, and I'm renting a house at this time. I don't own a house. I don't have a garage, right? So I'm like, even if I work in the trailer, if it's 20 degrees outside, it's 20 degrees inside the trailer. And you can only sustain that for so long, right? So I was like, well, I need to work on my shift the transmission over, because if I'm going to put the 2276 motor in that Mafoco built, I might as well put the transmission that I paid for to go with it in it.
Sure.
So she was like, well, what does it take? I was like, well, we've been, it was spring, summer. We were going places. We're moving, and now it's winter's coming up. And she was like, I was like, hey, I say I can do it, but I need to do it inside the house. She was like, well, then do it. Just as long as we ain't got oil all over. I said, no, it's the oil is drained, the grease and oil is all drained out of it. We're not talking about the old one, we're talking about the new one. And she was like, okay. She was like, do we need to put, plastic down or anything like that? I said, I'll just go in the other room, the other bedroom, and I'll set it up. And guess what? I set it up and I manhandled the transmission up, and I took the axles and everything off my old transmission and was cleaning them, painting the axle tubes and cleaning everything up. And before I would bring it across the threshold inside the house. So I was taken upstairs, and right next to it was the bed in the other room, and I had a big screen TV, and I was sitting there watching TV, watching football, and turning a wrench and inside the house in nice warmth, right? And making sure that I didn't do anything that was greasy or oil or anything like that. So I built it up all the way out to the drums, and then I carried it downstairs and then put it in the back of the truck and finished putting everything back together from that point on. But I did the axle tubes, the axles, all the shims and everything from inside the house.
So cool.
And then we got to the carbs,
Yes.
right?
This is
And she was
the
like,
kitchen.
the kitchen, right? So I was like, all right, I got to rejet the car. We got to rebuild the carbs, jet the carbs and everything. So she was like, well, let's do it. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I want to do it inside the house. And she was like, all right, well, let's do it. Let's get. I say, all right. So I said, you know what? This would be a good time for me to take these carbs apart and then kind of teach her what each part does inside the carbs.
Very cool.
So yeah, and that's what we did. There was no gas in it or anything like that. So we put a towel down on the island, and she had one carburetor, I had the other carburetor, and as I took each part off and each jet off, I explained her what each one was and what it was supposed to do, and how each one, your idle jet, is your, up to a certain RPM range, 2,000, 3,000 RPMs, and then the main jet takes over from that point on. And I showed her each area and where the float is, and we did everything. And then
Cool.
when I was showing her, I had her put it together. And then she put it together, and I said, okay, we need 0.50 idle jets. So I had my whole kit with all my different idle jets, and I would give it to her. And of course, we're older now, so we have to take a picture and zoom in, because trying to look at that stamp on the idle jet is kind of hard to see. So, and I was like, yeah, just push it on and everything. And then I watched her as she did, and then she kind of understood now how carburetors work.
Very cool and awesome of
Yeah.
you guys to have, again, that type of understanding, that type of commitment, that type of relationship. You mentioned moving. Now, this is another cool part to this story. You had said in 2025, she picked a house that was big enough for Volkswagen gatherings, and now maybe even a shop, right? What do you guys anticipate? You moved, you have a new house. What's going to happen with this? What do you picture happening on? I think you said that there's land now.
Yes.
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 Talk to me about that.
So here's what's crazy about. Now, keep in mind, she picked the house. I didn't pick the house, right?
Smart man.
And during the process of her picking the house, normally the guy is focused on the garage, right? I don't care about the rest of the house. I just care about the garage. That was her number one. I need enough land so we can have Volkswagen events in our yard. We need a bigger garage so you can do all your stuff that you want to do in the garage, and then the house. so so yes, and that's how that worked. So that was part of the criteria, and I just let her pick whatever. and she picked this house that we're in now, and it has a 2.5 car garage. That's how big it is. It's like 24 by 24. It's huge. I fit
Awesome.
the I fit both bugs and the bus in there, and still have room to walk.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
saw that. I
So it
saw this meme on Facebook. It's probably circulated everywhere, but it shows like, the ultimate, like, dream house for, they say for most men. For you guys, it would be for most men and women. But but
yes.
but here's what's cool. It shows this little tiny ass house, and then
Yeah.
it shows this giant shop in the background, right?
Yeah.
I kind of smile, and I have that envision when I hear you talking about this. But yeah, man, that's awesome. That really is.
We got a fenced in backyard, and our vision is to host like an event, RSVP obviously, because of the space, and then host an event where she cooks, uh, Puerto Rican rice and beans and all that kind
Mm.
of stuff, and I'm
Oh
on the
yeah.
grill,
Let's go.
and my trailer's huge, and I just purchased a projector, a short throw projector
Okay.
that we can, and then all I got to do is like build a fire pit. I want to put I want to build or put a 2 car garage back there that's kind of out of the way, and then just have some Volkswagen gatherings there. And this inspiration came from during um, D Note's second trip to the East Coast that I had him come out, and this was for a show called V Dubs by the Bay in Perryville, Maryland, which is hosted by Strictly VWs. Um, Dino came out, and the day before, we have some friends up in New Jersey, Volky John and them, and his wife. Their backyard, they have show cars. Let's put it that way. They got the notchback show
Mm.
car.
I
They
love
got
that car.
the bug, the super bill. They got clean classic like cars, right? And they invite us to their event in their at their house, and we go, and their backyard is like it was like the oasis for Volkswagens, right? His garage looks like a magazine garage, like this is AI. You know what I mean? Like I'm just standing in it.
Yeah.
He's got the surfboard with stickers and John. I mean, he just got. I mean, just everything. And I'm like, man, this is nice. He got a bar out in the back, where they grill. They got the tent over, and I'm just sitting there like, man, this is nice. I want to move in, right? And I'm like, man. And then, you know, he's and me and Dino sitting there and my wife, and we're just like, man, this is cool. So when we bought this house, I reached out to John and his wife and was like, I want to do what y'all got you guys are doing now, but we got the property, we got the house. Now I just need to do the buildings and everything for the backyard and start hosting. So hopefully maybe this summer, and then I want to probably try to do it maybe once a month or something like that.
Cool, man.
But
All
we
in
just
time.
have a little
All in time.
RSVP. Yes,
The field of dreams. If you build it, they will come.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to touch on this part because I thought this was really cool to see as well. You had mentioned that your sons, they own VWs now.
Yes, yes.
Talk to me about that. Do you think that you guys rubbed off on them? Was that a natural thing, or was this, something where you maybe helped them acquire these cars, or like paint that picture for me?
So they are. I we didn't push.
Okay.
We didn't push it.
Okay, that's kind of where I
When
was
you
going with it.
when you grow, I guess, grow around it, and you
Mhm.
see how happy, um it makes other people feel. It's just something about Volkswagens that draws you in. All you need is a little bit, right?
You
I
ain't
don't
wrong.
care. I don't care if it's your first time driving one. That might be the trigger, or your first time going to a show. That might be the trigger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
along the way of growing up around it, they've made their own decisions, and they just love Volkswagens. I mean, it's just something that we've always done, but we've never pushed it on them, and they've ended up with their own Volkswagens. Now,
So
none of
cool.
them own Aircooled. They own water cooled
Okay.
Volkswagens, but
So
it's
it's
still
next generation, right?
that's the next generation.
So I got a son, 17 now. Tried to take his driver's license test in my wife's 71 Carmen Ghia. The horn didn't work, so he couldn't test in it that day. So he
Uh,
he, he took her Audi instead. Got his driver's license. He's now that was 16. He's now 17. He's got this boat, this flats boat called a Gee New. It's got a little 15 horsepower two-stroke on it that runs like 20, 25 miles an hour. Cool boat, but it's
okay,
cold. It's cold around here right now, and I'm going somewhere with this story. A couple
okay,
weeks, couple weeks ago, he comes to me and he says, "Hey, Dad, I got this guy on Facebook Marketplace. He's trying to trade me this sand rail for my boat." I went, "What? Sand rail? You mean a Volkswagen?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What?" Not forced. Not forced, right?
not forced.
Not
Yeah,
forced. Not forced. He's interested. And I'm like, dude, that is so cool. I'm like, why? He's like, what do you mean? They're awesome. I want to ride in the Skyway event. I want to be in a sand rail. I want to feel the wind. I'm like, yo. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that. But let's touch on this because I think this is important to hear from your perspective. Why does the Volkswagen community last through generations?
they're Volkswagen. There's something about here. It's hard to explain. There's something about Volkswagen, right? And it has to do, to me, for me, it has to do with the history. Volkswagen has been the underdog from birth, right? They're introduced from a time of war,
Hmm.
right? And it wasn't supposed to make it. This car wasn't supposed to make it. It was introduced during a time of war, and this was during the era where poverty and recession and war, and then other people were interested in big cars. Like the new theme was the bigger your car, the more successful you are and everything. And
Right.
then this Beetle just comes into this market and it's just like, what is this thing? But it was affordable. What, $2,200 or $2,500?
Yeah, brand new.
Even brand new, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then people started buying them. And then they were just cars to be used for a lot of different reasons. Everybody had their own reason why they had the car, whether it was a work vehicle, whether it was going to college or whatever. And then even overseas, Volkswagen got pushed out in all these countries, right? And they became taxi cabs, work vehicles, just all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then German engineering, whatever they did, that vehicle lasted. And it's always crazy how you can take a bug out of the backyard of some woods or whatever. If that crank turns, right, all you got to do is put some oil in, drain the oil, put some oil in it, put a 12-volt battery and get some fire and crank that thing right up.
Ain't
And
that
if you
something?
get that spark plug going, she'll run, right? She ain't gonna run perfect, but she'll run.
Yeah.
And what other kind of car out there? I mean, because you got cars like the Geostorm. You ain't never gonna see a Geostorm ever, probably in your life. Somebody probably has one, but never.
No, they
And they
they go to the
they
crusher.
They're going to crush it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but even though people drive around and you don't see the Volkswagens, they're they're being taken care of and put away, you know, and they come out when need to. So we take care of the cars, and this has a lot to do with the movie Herbie, right? There's something about that car's energy that pulls you in,
Hmm.
and once you start, you can't stop,
I
and
feel
it
it.
just makes you
I get
happy.
it.
It just makes you happy.
Yeah.
You can have we've been to antique car shows, right? People that spent hundreds, $200,000 on 1934 Ford Coupe or whatever,
Yeah. Hot rod
big
type. Yeah.
rods and everything.
Yeah.
But you get a couple Beetles pulling up, everybody's heads turning
You
because it
said it.
resonates with it. No matter what, it resonates with them, and everybody has a story. Even
Yes.
even if they don't own one now, they can remember. Oh man, my dad used to have one. We used to go everywhere in it. Or I used to have one back in the day for college. I drove that thing everywhere. You know, everybody has a story.
That's right there what you said. Not only does the car just look happy, regardless of it's a split window or a bay window or a thing or a beetle or a super beetle, it just looks like it's smiling and it's happy. Even when the bumper's a little jacked up front, it just looks like my smile, a little crooked.
Yeah.
It's all good, right? It's
Yes.
so cool. But again, that was the whole motivation for me behind this podcast was because everybody has a story. Well, when you actually are in this scene and you start listening to these stories, brother, they are deep. And like you said, man, people have some of their most influential life moments, first girlfriends, you know, the first relationships, just the crazy stuff that happens when you're young and you're excited and you're a kid and they're centered around these cars. And I'm like, man, we got to capture these. Someone's got to capture these stories. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, man,
Absolutely.
so awesome to hear and great way to describe it. All right, I got some rapid fire style questions. All right, these are questions that demand a fast response, but if you got, if a story comes of these, so be it. But rapid fire, you ready for them?
Yes.
All right. You got some experience here. So this first one I'm interested in. Best sounding VW motor is
The 2276, but it has to have the A1 exhaust. It has to have
okay.
the A1 exhaust because Tiger does that exhaust is I don't know what he does, but the A1 exhaust has to be attached to the motor
Okay.
and straight cut gears.
Okay. Carb or EFI?
Carb,
Carb
carb,
all day.
carb. Yes, there's something about tuning a carburetor, and learning. Matter of fact, just last month, uh, my son and I rebuilt a 44 Weber, and then we're just sitting at the table and just rebuilding it and just having father son talk.
Amazing. That's like as a father, that's like the ultimate dream is that your child is going to have interest in some of the same things and hobbies that you have interest in. And when it happens, it's just like, it's like music to the soul. It truly is.
Yeah, yes,
So for the Beetle, split window or oval?
both.
Yeah, of
The
course.
doesn't matter. Both split
Why
window
pick one?
oval.
Okay.
Yeah, pick one. Yeah,
Uh, Cow look or patina?
I gotta go patina. I
Yeah.
don't,
And
you
what's
know,
cool, me and Dino talked about this a little bit. It's like patina wasn't popular, when I was younger. You'd look at a car that was patina and you'd be like, oh no, that thing needs a paint job, right?
yeah, yes,
Right? So it's cool to see how that's evolved. Now, the rust, the patina, the faded paint, that'll get celebrated now and even clear coated and super shine, right? They clear coat over the patina now. So yeah, cool.
So
Okay,
I gotta give a plug on the patina though.
let's go.
Here's what I notice when I go to the shows,
Okay,
right? There needs to be a patina class.
we
I
got them at
can't
ours.
there's some shows that your patinas, right? If they're going up against a split window, oval window, that it's not going to win,
Right.
right? Even though the car is the favorite or whatever, they've created their own genre, right? And there's more of them, and it's sad that especially when you get into your shows that only do whatever top whatever number, top 20, top 25, best this. There's got to be a best patina because that's the other side of the spectrum that people are spending money and hard earned and busting knuckles and getting their elbows dirty. And
I
some
agree.
of those patinas, just the look, right? You got to dig a little bit deeper. So there needs to be maybe at the shows the judging for them because it's a different set of eyes. Is it because most people are looking best paint job, they're
Right.
looking for no swirls and no cracks or anything like that. And then how's a patina to even compete with that? The patina, it may take more work to get that thing to look like that than
Right.
it does to slap a paint job on.
It's speaking of, they're even taking the paint jobs these days with airbrush and they're airbrushing it to look like patina, you know?
Yes,
So yeah,
yes,
we at all our shows, my buddy Alan and I do through Salty Dub, we have a patina class because we agree with you and we feel the same way. The patina needs to be celebrated for sure.
yes.
All right, how about this one? East Coast scene or West Coast scene?
There's it depends. It depends. I'm not going to answer that question. You're not going to capture me into one
You
side
ain't
or
gonna pick a
another.
side. That's
I'm not going to
funny.
pick a side,
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
then we can't miss the middle.
No
You're miss.
division. No division.
Yes,
That's funny because I've got a story that just made me think about something. Years ago, I had ended up in Alabama working for an HVAC contracting business, and it's my first week there. I had bought a house there and everything, and right outside of Montgomery in this small town called Millbrook. And I go to Montgomery Airport, connect in Atlanta, fly out to Texas for some training. And on the way back home, it'd been 5 days since I'd seen my family, etc. And we get to the Atlanta airport and we notice that our layover is like 6 hours from now. But there's another plane that leaves in like 3 hours and it goes to Montgomery. So I go up to the stand and I'm like, hey, I haven't seen my kids. I got 5 kids. I ain't seen them in days. And, I see this other plane. Like, I know these tickets aren't transferable, but what do I got to do to get, me and my buddy here I'm traveling with? What do I got to do to get us on this plane? She goes, oh, that's an easy question, easy answer. You, Alabama or you Auburn? I'm like, huh? She's like, yeah, Alabama or Auburn. I'm like, well, she said Alabama first, so maybe she is an Alabama fan, right? So I say, Alabama. She goes, wrong answer. Plane's full. And guess what? I didn't get on that plane. But I realized at that time, from that moment, I never picked a side again when we discussed football teams there because in the South, in Alabama, because there's no NFL team, you got two teams in that state. You either are a Tiger or you are Roll Tide.
yeah,
And brother, if you pick a side, you better be committed to that one side or the other because it comes with repercussions. So I
yes,
understand not picking a side. I used to say this all the time when they would ask me, I'm from Florida. I'm a Florida Gator. And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, well, we're gonna walk the dog on your gators," and I'd let them just talk their shit and get away with it, whatever. But
yeah, yeah,
from that moment, I learned I never picked the side again. So I understand
yeah.
that. All right, how about this one? Dream VW that you don't own or haven't owned just yet.
Notchback.
Hey man, I'm with you on that. It's my favorite, actually. It's evolved to my favorite air-cooled Volkswagen. And I
Yeah.
say this, some people don't understand it. They don't even see how I see it in this, but if you take like the version of the notch and you just look at the front, the lights, the front fender, you go down the side, you look at the rear, how the rear kind of sharpens up toward the back brake light. It looks like a little miniature micro machine version of a 57 Chevy Bel Air to me. Some people say,
Okay. I
"Oh
see it.
yeah, I can see that." Other
I can
people
see
have
it.
argued and say, "I don't see that." That I love that car. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but it's as I've met all these folks and I've had so many folks on the show. We've had so many people coming to our car shows and showing off their rides. That car, the notchback, has evolved to my favorite, absolute favorite air-cooled Volkswagen. Have never owned one. You want to come say hi? Well, come on.
Hi.
This is
Hello.
August. Say
How
what's
you
up.
doing?
Up.
He's up here.
How
Yeah,
you
this is my
doing?
this is my 6 year old. Now,
Okay.
honey, will you hand me that piece of art right there on the bottom? I'm gonna show you what this kid's favorite thing to do is, and then I've got just a couple more questions for you. All right?
Okay. Oh,
He
okay.
draws.
Split
He go.
window.
Yeah, you might see on my Facebook. Now that we're connected, when we go to shows, he's an artist and he's in art classes, but he sits down at the shows with his art book and he'll sit down in front of his favorite cars that he picks and he'll draw cars for people, and then he goes up to them and he hands them their drawing and he goes, "I want money."
Yeah, that's
That
why.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
all. Hey, that's
Hey,
awesome.
yeah,
Hey,
it
hey,
is.
he's got to build his own.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he's got
That's
to come
right.
from somewhere.
So we were in Sanford, Florida, at the VW show there my buddy Jason Davis puts on. And to my surprise, first person, "Oh, you want money? Oh, hell yeah." They give $5. Next person, $20. Next person, $10. I'm like, dang, August, you're
He's
making
an
money.
entrepreneur.
But I
Yes.
lost it.
Yeah, well, we'll tell that story too. So he's keeping this money in his pocket. He gets up to like 35, maybe even $40 in cash. And then we're, 2, 3 hours later, we're getting ready to leave. I say, "Hey, buddy, where's all your cash?" He's like, goes and checks his pockets. He dropped it.
Patrick,
That's
I just don't know.
all
I'm
right.
sorry.
That's all right.
Oh,
All right. Say bye.
Bye.
All
bye
right.
bye.
We're
Nice to
wrapping up
meet you.
here. Just a few more minutes. All right. Say nice to meet you.
That's
Okay.
awesome. That is
Yeah, man.
awesome. The next
Yes.
generation.
So yes, the next generation for sure. So back to the notch, my favorite as well. Super, super cool that you feel that way. Any reason why in particular?
It's it's different, right? It's just there's just something about it that even it just when you it's like going to a regular show and seeing Beatles. Beatles are different, right?
Yeah,
Because of the shape and
yeah,
everything.
sure.
When you go to a Volkswagen show, notchbacks are different,
Super
right?
different. Yeah,
And they're rare,
yeah, they are.
right? So they're just something
I never
about
would have thought either by the shape and just by looking at it that car would have just struck me the way that it did. Because I knew about a notch, the Type threes, my whole life, but I
yeah,
was never really that attracted to them until I started really understanding our culture and our scene. And now it's my
yes,
favorite car. I've never had one. Don't know that I'll ever get one, because they're rare.
same,
Yeah, because they're
same.
rare and they're super expensive, but it's my favorite. So I can dream with you. All right. All right. How
But
about this
I
one?
was lucky. I was lucky to get that bus.
Yeah,
That bus. Yeah,
I had a bus for a little while too. I had a split 67, um, 13 window. It was beautiful, but I didn't want that smoke when it came to the restoration. I mean, I got quoted 75, $85,000 to get that thing back to, and I'm like, hold on, I wasn't ready for all that. I want something I can enjoy tomorrow, right? So
Yes.
I ended up selling it, to somebody that put a little more time and could. You know, when a metal fabricator or something like that buys an old bus like that that's completely gone and needs all new floors and a new front and it's they don't see it as the same thing I did. I'm not that talented with metalwork, etc. So I couldn't do it, right? But
Yeah.
the guy that bought it off me, he did and he could. And yeah, I'll leave it there. All right, how about this one? Favorite show that you've attended? About to
I
get you
can't
in
do it,
trouble.
man.
About to get you in trouble again.
You're trying to get me in trouble, and I can't do it. Right. So all the shows, to me, all the shows are great because it's about the camaraderie and the people, right? Of coming together. And one of the things, every show we go to is great because when we pop our tent and we're at the shows, our tent becomes what you get two for one. We show up as all events and shows, and you get VolkyChica, right? Our tent becomes Comedy Central, right? We're in there, we're under the tent telling stories,
Oh, cool.
just all kinds of stuff, and we're laughing, and our by the end of the day, our cheeks are hurting from just smiling and laughing and everything. And then we're just going at it. Next, time goes by fast, and I enjoy it. But I do have some crazy. I have to interject with this one. Up in Chicago, there's a club called Vochos Club Chicago. I have never been around such a group of people that go hard non-stop, right? Vochos Club Chicago. Normally a club has an event and you do the event and you go home. These guys don't stop, right? To the point where you want to quit. I'm like, they are wearing me out, right? Because they invite us to an event, and it might start at 9 o'clock in the morning, meet up, or whatever, do a cruise, and then we end up in this area where we block off the streets. I've never. This is some crazy stuff. Block streets off, and the cops don't say anything. They're okay with it, blocking
Wow.
streets off, and Volkswagens are just coming, right? And this ain't even an event with a name. This is just them getting together
Chilling.
and doing their thing.
Yeah,
They got
crazy.
the grill going, making tacos nonstop. People
Ooh.
are bringing, people are bringing meat. People are bringing cerveza, Coronas and everything, and just constantly going. Dessert, bread, everything, just constantly going. Then, while the music's playing, a van shows up in the middle of the day, just when you think, okay, it's at the end of the day. A band unloads, a live band unloads their truck and set up and then starts playing and jamming the music. A live band.
Super cool.
And then you're like,
That's my vibe.
you're looking, I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, man,
I'm getting
it's
tired.
it's getting it's getting late. And they're like, no. And the club president, Ellie, he's just like, no, we still got other stuff. We got another band coming, or we got this coming. They even have a lot. They even have one time they had a bull, a lot, like one of those riding bulls, and just in the middle of just, I was just like, I said, Ellie, I gotta go, man. But these guys are where they're like, no, we're going to go on a ride. We're going to cruise, and I'm like, okay. So next thing you know, late at night, we're cruising the city of Chicago
Ooh.
with the backlights, and then we
Ooh.
park, and it's 9, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. We've been going hard for 12 hours,
Dang, man.
right? And then we park, and they open up the doors and play the music out of one of the Volkswagen buses, and the cops are coming by, and we're parked in an area where it says no parking, bus only, right? No parking, bus only. cops are coming by, taking selfies, taking pictures, and we're taking a whole area, right? And I'm like, this is cool. But you guys are wearing me out, right? I'm getting older now. I'm like, it's time to take a nap or something, But the Vultures Club in Chicago, even though it's not it wasn't a show, but they go hard. And here's the other thing too. They don't stop in the winter.
Ooh,
They
that is
continue.
cold up there too.
They don't care. They don't care. They continue to go hard in the winter, even when it's snowing outside. They're like, yeah, we're still doing it. We're meeting up at this parking lot, and we're bringing the bus with the tacos and there. And I'm like, Ellie, it's negative 24 degrees outside. Oh man, just bundle up. Come on, let's go. I'm like, okay, and yeah,
all right. So they might hold the title for the most go hard culture.
yes.
All right, I got 2 questions. These are to be answered with one word. All right.
Okay.
One word to describe VolkyChica.
Unique.
Unique. I'll take it. All right. One word to describe the VW community.
Family.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I dig it.
Yes.
If Volkswagens, as we know it, if they disappeared tomorrow, what would you personally miss the most?
The camaraderie in the family, just the whole vibe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what my hobby would be, because this is it. This is what I do. This is life for me. Right. So this is like, if someone smokes cigarettes, they like smoking cigarettes and makes them feel good. This what makes me feel good.
Yeah. I feel it. I feel it, and I'm right here with you. I'd miss that most as well. The people, the culture, the way they make me feel, the way the car makes me feel, the way the culture makes me feel. So I'm right here with you.
You can't drive a Bug and not smile. It's impossible. You can't be driving your Bug
You're not
with
wrong.
a frown or anger.
No,
you're smiling.
I had my buddy out of Colorado, Grant Aslan. He came on the podcast a while back, and he said anytime he's feeling blue, all he's got to do is go hop in his Beetle and take a ride around the block. And he said, within 2, 3, 4 minutes, he's got a smile on his face. And that's a wrap for this episode of Dub Life Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at Dub Life Diaries, or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. dublifediaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.